Dear friends, English literature, romantic poetry, selected poems of Percy B. Shelley, Adonis, short questions with answers. Short questions 1 to 10. Question 1. What do you know about the myth of Adonis? And so Adonis was the son of Smyrna by her own father, Tias, king of Syria. She conceives the child by her father through trickery. When Tias finds it out, he is determined to kill her, and then God turned her into a myrrh tree. 9 months later, the baby Adonis comes out of the tree. Being moved by the beauty of the child, Aphrodite, Urania, queen of love, sheltered him and entrusted him to Persephone, queen of death. But Persephone was so taken by Adonis' beauty that she refused to give him back to Aphrodite. The dispute between the two goddesses was settled by Zeus. Adonis was to spend 1/3 of every year with each goddess, and the last third wherever he chose. He chose to spend 2/3 of the year with Aphrodite. During a summer hunt, Adonis pierced a wild boar with his spear, wanting but not killing the beast. In revenge, the boar charged Adonis and stabbed him with his tusk, causing a wound that eventually killed him at an early age. He died in the arms of Aphrodite, who came to him when she heard his groans. Question 2. Why was Urania not beside Adonis when he died? Answer. In mythology, Urania, also known as Aphrodite, was Adonis' lover, in whose arms Adonis died. But Shelley departs from the original myth. He converts the lover of Adonis into the mother of Adonis. While Adonis' lover was beside him when he died, Adonis' mother was not beside him when he died. When Adonis died, his mother Urania was in her paradise, her region of ideal love and beauty. At the time, she was listening to the melodies sung by the celestial spirits sitting among them. One of the spirits uttered the musical poetry of kids with a gentle and charmed voice, while his vigor was already decayed. Thus, the spirit spoke so sweet things that she did not care what was happening in the world. This scene of pleasure was so great that she did not notice Adonis' death. Shelley, using a simile, says that the pleasurable things act like flowers that hide the dead body beneath them. Thus, Urania was not beside her son when she died, because she was at that moment engaged in her own region of ideal love and beauty. Question 3. Why did Shelley choose the god Adonis to symbolize kids? Answer. Shelley chooses Adonis to symbolize kids because there are similarities between them. The first similarity between them is that both of them died at an early age. As a young poet, Keats is loved by the muse and is killed by a Tory viewer because the reviewer criticizes Keats' Endymion severely. Like Adonis, Keats' body is into the vitality of nature, whose spirit lives on with the enduring dead. Shelley thinks that Keats is not dead but has passed from mortality to immortality. After his physical death, Keats has become one with nature. His voice is now heard in all the sounds of the different objects of nature, such as the sweet songs of the nightingale and the roar of the thunder. His presence is felt in the darkness and in the light and everywhere along the earth. After death, he has become unseen soul or spirit that become omnipresent. He has permeated all objects. He cannot be seen or touched, but he is of nature as he has absorbed his soul. So after death, Keats has become part and parcel of nature. Adonis is also the personification of nature. Hence, Shelley chooses Adonis to symbolize Keats. Question 4. How does Shelley contrast the fate of some great poets with that of some minor poets? Answer. Adonis is an elegy on the premature death of Keats. The poem begins with a confident assertion that the fame of Keats will live forever. Shelley feels that Keats was a promising poet, not a poet who was achieved greatness. According to Shelley, all poets cannot rise to the highest point of fame as Milton did. Some lesser poets are more fortunate than Milton because they have gained fame during their lifetime by writing poems inferior to those of Milton. They are happy because they are appreciated by people during their lifetime. But some parts of the highest genius are unfortunate because they are forgotten by the people. Shelley metaphorically compares the mediocre poetry of some minor poets to tapers' candles, continues to burn in the darkness of forgetfulness. That is, their poetry is remembered by man forever. Shelley also compares some great poets to the sun and tells that their poetry is forgotten. Thus, Shelley indirectly blames fortune, who does not treat all equally. She favors some minor poets and disfavors some great poets. Question 5. How does Shelley compare Keats to a shepherd? Answer. In Adonais, Shelley metaphorically compares Keats to a shepherd and his poetic fancies to sheep. Keats, as a poet, would have spent much time sorting through his thoughts and dreams before writing them. In the same way, shepherds have to keep their sheep in that order. Just as sheep mourn the dead shepherd drooping around him, Keats' poetic fancies lament his death. A shepherd feeds his flock on the green pastures by a riverside. Keats nursed his poetic fancies in his young heart. The mourning sheep of the dead shepherd wander no more on the pastures. Similarly, Keats' fancies, dreams will not more pass from his brain to the reader's brain as he is dead now. After his death, his dreams will no longer inspire the minds of others, as his dreams will remain inactive in his heart. Like the sheep, Keats' dreams lamented their sad lot, as they will never be shared with anyone. Shelley also imagines that the dreams are trying to find some life in Keats' heart, but they are disappointed. They will never find a home or any life in Keats again, as he is dead. Shelley marks that Keats will no longer be able to spread his dreams to others through his poetry. Question 6. How do different objects of nature mourn for the death of Keats? Answer. Adonais is a pastoral elegy and in a pastoral elegy, all nature joins in mourning the shepherd's death. In the poem, the power of nature that mourn the death of Keats are morning thunder, ocean, wind, echo, spirit, hyacinth, and narcissus. Morning mourned the death of Keats with her hair unbound and wet with tears. The thunder mourns and is sad with grief. Because of the death of Keats, the ocean is pale with grief and the winds are mad with grief. Echo is so depressed about Keats' death that she decides not to respond to wind, fountains, bird, grass, the herdsman's horn, or bells that ring at the end of the day. Because of the death of Keats, spring is wild with grief, and it makes her throw her flower buds down as if she was autumn who kills the birds. Hyacinth and narcissus become pale at the death of Keats. They stand pale among less colorful flowers, all full of tears of pity. Question 7. How does spring mourn the death of Keats? Answer. Spring is the name of a season when trees get their life back. Keats died in February, and Shelley first heard of his death in April and thought that he died in April. So he describes early spring as one of the mourners of death of Keats. Spring is deeply affected by the premature death of Keats. She is wild with grief, and that she throws her flower buds down as if she was autumn who kills the buds. At the beginning of the spring season, young buds begin to bloom, but because of the death of Keats, grief is stricken, and new buds and green leaves are shed. Thus, spring has turned into autumn because of the death of Keats. Spring is the symbol of rebirth, as green leaves and new buds begins to grow at the time. But Keats' death reverses the order. All the joys of spring have been the death of kids. So she does not think it is worth standing a new year gone with as kids is not alive to enjoy it. As kids is no more, spring does not care for bringing fresh life and beauty to the gloomy aspect of nature. Question 8. How does England mourn the death of Keats? Answer. Keats was a son of England. The premature death of Keats was a great loss to the country. So England laments for his death more than the nightingale for her mate and the mother eagle for her young ones. Nightingale is famous for melodious singing. If her mate dies, it will be unbearable to her. If she is left desolate by the death of her mate, she will mourn it very painfully. But England mourns the death of Keats more than the nightingale mourns the death of her mate. The loss of Keats to England is greater than the loss of mate to the female nightingale. Again, Shelley compares England's mourning for Keats is more than the mother's eagle's mourning for her young ones. If a female eagle returning to her nest finds that her young ones have been stolen, her grief will know no bounds. We know that a mother bird loves her young ones more than her own life and tries to save them even at the cost of her own life. So her lamenting for the loss of her young ones should not be compared to anything. But Shelley says that England laments for the death of Keats more than the female eagles lament for her young ones. Question 9. How does Shelley curse the critic who is responsible for the death of Keats? Answer. When Shelley hears of the death of Keats, he is convinced that the anonymous author, now known to be John Wilson Croker of the malicious criticism of Endymion in the Quarterly Review, April 1818, is responsible for Keats' death. Shelley pronounces the curse of Cain upon the reviewer. Cain is a character from the Old Testament who committed the first murder by killing his brother Abel. On Cain, God pronounced the curse that the earth would not produce for him, and he would be a fugitive and wanderer on the earth. Shelley pronounces the terrible curse of Cain on the head of the critic whose cruel criticism leads Keats to death. The critic wanted Keats' heart so maliciously that his soul leaves his body. So Shelley condemns him to a hapless and homeless life of misery. He also calls the reviewers hard-eared wolves, obscene ravens, and vultures. Shelley is here wrong to believe that Keats died because of malicious criticism. The real cause of his death is tuberculosis. Question 10. Describe after Shelley the relationship between death and life. Answer. Shelley is greatly shocked by the death of Keats. Because of this shock, he comes to the realization that death is a great leveler. All the creatures, great and small, are equal to the eye of death. There are differences between higher creatures and lower creatures during their lifetime. They lead different types of lives, and higher creatures enjoy more opportunities when they are alive. But after death, the differences between them vanish. After death, the bodies of both of them are rotten. Thus, they are made one in death. Shelley again compares death to a lonely lender and life to a borrower. Death lends body, senses, etc. to life for earthly existence. Borrowing these things from death, man continues to live on earth, and when death demands this back, man has to repay him. When these things are repaid, the life on earth is ended. Thus, Shelley remains to say that death is permanent while life is temporary. Death is the eternal thing, and life is only a temporary escape from death. Thank you, friends, for watching my video.